This is an NBC News special report. Here is Brian Williams.
Good day once again from our studios in New York, coming back on the air to update you on a situation of disparate parts in the United States and overseas. We have several UPS large cargo jets that are on runways, tarmacs, parked and being checked after suspicions came up today that perhaps parts of something, perhaps packages had been tampered with, and was this part of a larger scheme? Let's go to our justice correspondent, Pete Williams, in our Washington newsroom. Pete, lay out what we believe we have here at this hour.
Well, you know, there's a lot that we don't know here, Brian, but what we do know is this. The precipitating event that got this all going was a package, a toner cartridge for a copier machine that was tampered with, that was discovered, had been shipped from Yemen to the UK, and at a distribution center in the East Midlands distribution center outside London, it was found. The initial thought was that it was an explosive device. Now, that immediately triggered concern last night, and this plan was put into effect to search any cargo flights that came to the U.S. carrying packages from Yemen or using the same shipping route as the package that was shipped to the UK. Now, subsequent checking of that initial package of the UK seemed to allay fears somewhat, but that seems to have changed again just in the past several minutes, and we still don't have a definitive understanding here of whether, in fact, the original package was some kind of hazardous device, was some kind of a bomb. It had wires coming out of it. It had powder in it, we're told. But, of course, that's what a toner cartridge carries, is powder. So we're still waiting to get a definitive word on what that thing was. So you have two things happening. You have now, as a result of that, out of an abundance of caution, searching all kinds of packages and cargo flights here in the U.S. that followed that same route, originated from Yemen. And again, Brian, we've got all sorts of conflicting reports here. It's very early on in this process in the U.S. about whether suspicious packages have been found here or merely packages that seem to check off those two boxes that came from Yemen or were shipped by the same shipper. So lots of checking, nothing definitive here yet. We don't know whether this was an attempt to attack the U.S., whether this was an attempt to attack the U.K., but we do know that it's gotten an enormous response here in the U.S. To try to make sure that nothing hazardous gets in here and that nothing happens to these planes. It would appear, given the large number of planes involved here, that none of these devices were intended to go off in flight. So if, in fact, there is more than one device, and that's another thing we don't know. There's only one confirmed suspicious device, and that's the one that was sent to the UK. But there have been multiple reports about suspicious packages being found in the U.S. We just don't know whether, in fact, those are suspicious because they came from Yemen or because of the nature of the packages themselves.
All of this would make it worth our while to just talk about Yemen. Our chief foreign correspondent, Richard Engel, is prepared to do that, having been there himself. Richard, if Yemen turns out to be the kind of initial or focal point of this investigation, what is it we should know about that country?
Well, people are very concerned because of the Yemen connection. The group Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula is based in Yemen. It has been one of the most active Al-Qaeda cells all over the world, has expressed a desire to reach out beyond Yemen, beyond the Arabian Peninsula, and carry out attacks in the United States. The Christmas Day attempted bombing was traced back to Yemen, to this organization, Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula. What's also key to understand about this group and militant groups in general right now is that they are starting to consider even failed attacks or failed attempts as successes, precisely because of what we're seeing right now. This may be the objective, that to see how security forces react, to create a sense of panic, to ground flights to a halt. I spoke to security officials in New York, Times Square bombing. didn't cause a lot of damage, cost the city a lot of money, caused people to be very concerned. And if you watch these, you can also learn something about response times. We saw that in Iraq all the time. They put fake IEDs in the road just to see how U.S. troops would react.
All right, Richard Engel here in New York, and we want to talk to Roger Cressy, a veteran, former national security official in the White House, among other places. Roger is a terrorism analyst for NBC News these days. Roger, here we have no confirmed connection to al-Qaeda or any other bad guys. What we know we have is a potentially suspicious toner cartridge that, as Pete Williams points out, toner cartridges contain powder. That's what they do. And so the abundance of caution means a lot of aircraft and some vehicles are being checked. Roger, what questions would you be asking right now? What do you want to know?
Well, Brian, the first question is, if this is a suspicious device, what was the objective of it? It wasn't to go off in a particular in a plane. It was to arrive here in the United States. And are there people here waiting for this device? So one element is, are there individuals inside the United States that the FBI should be looking for? The second part of it is because, as Richard said, al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula could be a primary a group of concern on this. They have expressed the desire to attack the homeland repeatedly. Are there other elements to a potential plot here that has not been uncovered? Multiple planes at work, other individuals. And the third part of it is, going back to the European alert, Brian, that we talked about a couple weeks ago, is there a European element to this that goes just beyond the device in London? Are there other potential cargo planes or other planes in European routes that have to be looked at as well?
So we have searches going on, aircraft parked and boarded with an abundance of caution, the phrase you keep hearing today, after one suspicious package has triggered fears of perhaps a wider attempt to export others from Yemen through European routes onto the United States. We will remain on this story. Fact gathering will come back on the air with any major developments, continuing coverage on cable on MSNBC. For my colleagues here, I'm Brian Williams, NBC News, New York.
This has been an NBC News special report.